Welcome back to the Gold IRA Blueprint podcast. Today, we're diving deep into gold IRA transfers. This is something that comes up all the time when you're thinking about retirement planning.
Yeah.
And it can be kind of confusing. So we're going to break it down. We found this in-depth explanations called Gold IRA Transfers, in-depth explanation for Americans. And our mission today is to give you a clear picture of what a gold IRA transfer is. The good, the bad, the steps. And heads up, there's some interesting little details, like the IRS has strict rules about the types of gold. Then there's taxes. If you inherit a gold IRA, you're going into all that. Plus, we'll talk about choosing the right custodian, which is really important. Now, if you're wondering if a gold IRA is right for you, we have a free checklist to help you choose the right company. Just go to goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. You can download it right now. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump in.
Sounds good. What should we start with?
Well, I think the best place to start is with the basics. What exactly is a gold IRA transfer?
You're right. It is a great place to start, basically. A gold IRA transfer is when you move money from a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA into a self-directed IRA that's made for holding physical gold, like coins or bars.
So it's not like you're converting your IRA into gold bars magically or something. It's more like creating a separate account specifically for gold.
Exactly. And it's important to understand why someone would want to do this. The main idea is diversification. You're taking a portion of your retirement savings, which might be in stocks and bonds, and you're putting some into something different, gold.
Yeah. For someone worried about market volatility, the idea of diversification using gold is probably pretty appealing. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially when we're talking about retirement.
It's a good strategy. And you're right. Gold has often been seen as a hedge against inflation when the dollar's value drops. Historically, gold has tended to rise. This could help protect your savings.
Okay, so diversification and potentially a hedge against inflation. Those are two big pluses for gold IRAs. But let's be real. There are always two sides. What are some of the downsides to gold IRAs?
That's a really important question. Because like any investment, there are things to consider. One thing is the higher costs. With a gold IRA, compared to a traditional one, you're dealing with real gold. So you have storage fees and insurance to think about. The IRS makes you store the gold in an approved place, and that can add up.
So you're basically paying extra for that security and peace of mind, knowing your gold is safe and sound.
Exactly. And there's another thing. The IRS, they have specific rules about gold IRAs, especially when it comes to the gold itself. It's not just any gold coin you can add.
Okay. So there were rules to keep in mind. You mentioned types of gold. Can you give us some examples? What's allowed versus what might not be?
Sure. For a gold product to be okay for a gold IRA, it needs to meet purity standards, usually 0.995 fine or higher for bullion, and 0.9167 fine for coins. Some popular coins that are good include the American Gold Eagle, the Canadian Gold Maple Leaf, and the South African Kruger Rand. These are all recognized gold coins that fit the IRS rules. You also have gold bars, which can be cheaper if you're buying a lot of gold.
So it sounds like you really need to do your research to make sure you're buying the right gold. It's not just about what looks good.
Exactly. And speaking of things to remember, it's important to know that gold's price can change, just like any investment. So a gold IRA isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's about diversifying and maybe reducing risk.
Right. So if you think a gold IRA is a way to get rich quick, that's not the case.
Exactly. It's a long-term strategy.
Yeah, got it. So it sounds like the decision to transfer to a gold IRA really depends on you, your risk tolerance, your financial goals, and how comfortable you are with gold as part of your retirement plan. And of course, doing your research to make sure you follow all the IRS rules. Speaking of research, I want to remind everyone about that free checklist. If you're thinking about gold IRAs, this checklist can help. With choosing the right company, it's at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive.
It's a great resource.
Okay. So we've talked about why someone might consider a gold IRA, but how does it work? It seems complicated.
It can be a bit daunting, I'll admit, but it's actually pretty easy if you break it down. Think of it like a roadmap with clear steps.
Okay, a roadmap. I like that. So what are the steps to transfer your IRA to gold?
There are 5 main steps. And at each step, you got to do your research. But the first step, and probably the most important, is choosing your custodian.
Okay. Custodian. What's that and why is it so important?
So, the custodian is basically the financial institution that holds and manages your gold IRA. They make sure everything follows the IRS rules, they handle the transactions, and they give you statements and reports. If you choose the wrong custodian, it can cause a lot of problems, so it's important.
So, How do you choose a custodian? What are the red flags? And what are good signs?
Reputation is key. Look for custodians with a good track record, positive reviews, and good financial standing. You should also compare fees. Different custodians charge different fees for setup, storage, and transactions.
Yes, yeah, those are important. Anything else?
Yes, this is a big one. Make sure the custodian follows all the IRS regulations for precious metals IRAs. This is super important.
Okay, so find the right custodian. That's step 1 on our roadmap. What's next?
Once you've found a good custodian, the next step is to open an account, a self-directed gold IRA account. You'll fill out some forms and then make an important decision. Do you want a direct transfer or a rollover?
All right, now we're getting technical. Direct transfer versus rollover. What are the differences and why does it matter?
A direct transfer is the simplest and most tax-efficient way to move your funds to your new gold IRA, basically. Your IRA funds are transferred directly to the new custodian without you ever touching the money.
So, less paperwork, less chance of something going wrong. It's all handled between the institutions. That sounds easier.
It is. Now, a rollover is when you withdraw the money from your IRA and then deposit it into your new gold IRA. You're basically the middleman, which can be tricky. And there's a 60-day rule with rollovers.
60-day rule. That sounds important. What's the rule? What happens if you miss the deadline?
If you don't put that money into your new gold IRA, within 60 days of taking it out, the IRS sees it as a distribution, which means you have to pay taxes and penalties. So you got to be organized with a rollover.
So direct transfer is simple and good for taxes and rollover. You have to be more careful, especially with that 60-day rule.
Got it. So we chose a custodian, opened our account, decided between transfer and rollover. What's the next step on this roadmap?
Next is step 3, funding the account. You're all set up. Now move the money. So that transfer versus rollover choice again.
Yes. If you chose direct transfer, it's usually smooth. You tell your current custodian, just transfer the money, and they'll handle it.
What if you chose rollover? How does it work then?
With a rollover, you get a check from your old IRA custodian, then deposit it into your new gold IRA. And remember the 60-day rule.
Okay. Step 3, funding the account. Make sure the money gets there safely, whether it's direct transfer or rollover. What's next? Are we getting to the gold yet?
Yes, this is where the fun starts. Step 4, choose and buy the gold.
So, remind me, what kind of gold can we buy?
The IRS has specific rules. It has to be coins or bars that meet a certain purity standard, usually 0.995 for bullion or 0.9167 for coins.
Any examples?
Sure. The most common choices are the American Gold Eagle, the Canadian Gold Maple Leaf, and the South African Krugerrand, all well known, and meet the purity requirements. And you have gold bars, which are usually cheaper if you're buying a lot.
Okay. We chose our gold, made sure it follows the rules, and we're ready. But do we actually get to hold the gold?
That's a good question. But no. With a gold IRA, you don't get to hold the gold. It has to be stored in an approved place.
Makes sense. For security and regulations. So the final step is finding a safe place to store it.
You got it. Step 5. Make sure the gold is stored safely. In an IRS-approved depository, your custodian will usually work with the depository. To handle this, they'll take care of everything. Transporting the gold, storing it properly, insuring it, and giving records.
No hiding gold bars. Under the mattress or in the backyard?
Definitely not. The IRS is serious about that. Secure storage in an approved depository is a must.
All right, so we've covered a lot. From choosing a custodian to storing the gold. A gold IRA transfer has a lot of parts, and it's important to do your research.
I agree. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't forget that free checklist. It can really help you. Choose the right gold IRA company. Go to goldirablueprint.com/exclusive to download it.
Yes. It's a great resource. Okay, before we talk about the rules, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've walked through those 5 steps. Now, let's get into the rules and regulations for gold IRAs. Honestly, I was surprised when I was reading about this at how many rules the IRS has.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot, but it makes sense. We're talking about retirement funds and taxes, so the IRS wants everything done right.
Exactly. So if you're listening and thinking, okay, gold IRAs sound cool, but I'm a little scared of the rules. Where do we even start?
Well, first, eligibility. Not everyone can just open a gold IRA. You usually need to be old enough to have a retirement account, like 18 or older. And you usually need an existing retirement account that you can transfer or roll over from.
So you're just starting to save for retirement. A gold IRA isn't the first step.
Right. You'd probably start with a traditional or Roth IRA
Right.
or a 401k from your job.
Yeah.
Then You could think about a gold IRA later.
Okay, so you're eligible. You have a retirement account. What about contribution limits? Can you move all your money into a gold IRA?
Well, not really. The IRS has limits for how much you can put in an IRA each year, and that includes gold IRAs. These limits are for all your IRAs together, not just the gold IRA.
So if I max out my traditional IRA, I can't also contribute to a gold IRA that year.
Right. It's all connected.
Makes sense. What about taking money out? Are there rules for that? I know there are penalties for taking money out of a traditional IRA early. Do those apply to gold IRAs?
Absolutely. Same rules, same penalties. Usually, you have to wait until you're 59 and a half to take money out without a penalty. Otherwise, it's a 10% penalty, plus your regular taxes.
10% on top of the taxes. That's a lot. You really have to think long term. With these accounts, what about those RMDs, required minimum distributions, when you reach a certain age? For traditional IRAs, do they apply to gold IRAs?
Yes. Once you turn 72, you have to start taking RMDs from your gold IRA. Just like a traditional IRA, the IRS has rules for calculating them.
It sounds like there are so many IRS rules for gold IRAs. Age limits, contribution limit, penalties, RMDs. It's a lot to keep track of.
It's true. But the rules are there to protect you, to protect your savings, and make sure the system works. Understanding the rules can save you a lot of trouble.
It's about being smart. Let's talk about taxes. Are there any tax breaks with gold IRAs?
Taxes for gold IRAs are pretty much the same as traditional IRAs. Your contributions might be tax deductible. It depends on your income. And if you have a retirement plan at work...
You'd like a tax break now when you contribute, like with a traditional IRA.
Yeah, but when you take money out later, those withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income.
So, tax-deferred growth, maybe a tax break now, and taxes when you take the money out. Sounds pretty normal.
Yep.
Are there any other tax things we should know about?
Well, it gets a bit more complicated. When you inherit a gold IRA, the taxes can be different depending on who you inherit from and your relationship to them.
Inherited gold IRAs.
Okay.
This is where I get lost.
Okay. Let's say you inherit a gold IRA from your spouse. You have options. You can keep it as your own IRA. You can roll it into your own IRA. Or you can take distribution.
So, you're flexible if you inherit from your spouse.
Right. But if you're not a spouse, the rules are different. You usually can't roll it into your own IRA. And you have to take distributions within a certain time.
Inheriting a gold IRA sounds like it has its own set of rules. You probably need to talk to an expert.
Yes. It's always a good idea to talk to a tax advisor or financial planner if you inherit a gold IRA.
All right. We've covered a lot. Eligibility, contributions, penalties, RMDs, and inheritance. It's a lot. Before we finish with the rules, let's answer some frequently asked questions about gold IRA transfers. There's so much information out there.
I agree. It's good to be clear.
Okay. Let's start with the basics. What is a gold IRA transfer?
Basically, it's moving money from a retirement account, like a traditional or Roth IRA, into a self-directed IRA, where you can invest in gold and other precious metals. It's about adding something different to your retirement portfolio.
So, you're basically opening a special IRA to hold gold.
That's right. And it all follows the IRS rules.
Perfect. We talked about this earlier, but let's go over it again. What's the difference between a gold IRA transfer and a rollover?
Good point. It's an important difference. With a gold IRA transfer, the money goes directly from one custodian to another. You don't touch the money.
So, it's
Right.
easier,
Yep.
less paperwork.
Right. It's the easiest and best way for taxes to move the money. Now, a rollover is when you take the money out yourself and then put it in your new gold IRA. You have 60 days to do it.
So, a rollover, you have to be more careful. And watch out for that 60-day rule.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So, who can do a gold IRA transfer? Are there age limits?
Income limits?
Usually. If you can have a traditional or Roth IRA, you can do a gold IRA transfer. There aren't really any limits.
Good to know, just to be sure. Are there any taxes when you do a gold IRA transfer?
As long as you do it right, as a direct transfer. There shouldn't be any taxes right away.
Yeah.
The IRS sees it as tax-free.
That's good. How long does it take? I'm guessing it takes a while. Yeah. It's not instant. It depends on the custodians and how complicated the transfer is. But usually, it takes 5 to 10 business days.
So you need a little patience.
Right.
Last question. What are the main benefits of a gold IRA transfer? Why would you do it?
I think the biggest benefit is diversification. With a gold IRA, you add gold to your retirement portfolio, which can help protect you against inflation and market changes. Historically, gold has done well when the economy is uncertain.
So it's a way to protect your savings.
Yes, it's about spreading out your risk and building a retirement portfolio that can handle anything.
Yeah.
And speaking of handling things, don't forget about that checklist to help you choose a gold IRA company.
Yes. Get your copy at goldirablueprint.com/exclusive. It has lots of tips. Okay, we've talked a lot about gold IRA transfers, what they are, the steps, the pros and cons, and all those IRS rules. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about. If gold has always been a safe bet, when the economy is shaky, what does that say about things today? What about the future of gold? It's something to consider when you're deciding if a gold IRA is right for you.
That's a great question. It makes you think bigger, not just about gold IRAs.
Right. It's not just about the rules and steps. It's about understanding how different investments work and how they fit into your plan.
Yeah. And remember, we've covered a lot today, but this is just the start of your gold IRA journey. There's always more to learn.
You're right. We talked about what a gold IRA transfer is, the steps, the good and bad, and all those IRS rules. But now it's up to you to decide if a gold IRA makes sense for you. And remember, we have that checklist to help you choose the right company. Just go to goldirablueprint.com/exclusive to get your free copy.
It's a great tool.
Well, that's it for our deep dive today into gold IRA transfers. As always, do your research, talk to a financial advisor you trust, and make smart decisions that work for you and your retirement goals.
Until next time, happy investing.
And remember, knowledge is power when it comes to retirement planning. Thanks for joining us on the Gold IRA Blueprint